And we are recording a game. End of the day. End of the day, we survived another one. We went to a frickin' water park today. Sarah and I went to a huge water park. And it was chaos. We're both hurting, as we should be. We went down this one. It's a long, straight down drop. And I guess the seams in the slide are a little bit off, just enough that when your butt goes over them, it's like your human body flying down the road and hitting a little bit of a concrete speed bump. So we've got some sore parts on us right now, but it's pretty fun and scary. And also they have these virtual reality things, these goggles that you put on, and you both climb into the same inner tube thing and you shoot down these pipes. That was the most insane experience I've ever had, I swear. It was unbelievable, with this virtual reality goggles on your head showing you something other than what you were doing. It made it look like you're about to go off these cliffs and stuff. I'm not sure if I was screaming like a girl guide or screaming in terror. Maybe a good combination of both. Laughed my head off. It was pretty good. Pretty good time. Anyway, what else is going on in the world right now? Real big news is the fires in California. Holy shit. How is that Newsom guy even alive? It's beyond me. Can you believe that? All those, I was watching this one shot where, we haven't been watching the news. I haven't been watching it in detail. I don't know exactly the toll of the damage, but I'm sure it is absolutely off the chart. And firefighters ran out of water. Are you freaking kidding me? There's also a woman there watching a house burning. Her parents, who are in their 90s, who had been using the same insurance company for 35 years. Paying for their fire insurance for 35 years. And oops, coincidentally, the insurance company deleted the fire insurance part of their home insurance days before the fire lit up. And apparently, that Newsom Satan spawn, I guess he vetoed some vote to allow water to run into those areas, and instead shut off the water in the mountains from running into those areas, which would have fed the fires no problem, because there's the fish, and allegedly the fish isn't even a native species. Some fish in the creek, right? So they didn't allow any water to be diverted from that river to those areas, which would have obviously been water in the firefighters' hoses. Unfrickin' believable. Then you've got the apparent lesbian fire chief of the fire department there. Whatever, I don't give a shit. She's a lesbian, I don't give a shit what she is, as long as she's good at her job. On a TV news program, vowing to have the firefighters more diverse at the department. Brighter people is what she referred to. Isn't that amazing how effed up that state is? Yeah, we're gonna have, I think I probably want my firefighters just to be the most capable, the most physically and mentally strong, capable firefighters. That doesn't have any decision on what sex they are, right? Physically capable, mentally capable of handling it, staying calm, keeping the shit together, and saving lives, right? Anyway, okay, I'll stop babbling about all that shit, but it's amazing. It's amazing how that Newsom dude is even in the position he's in today. Unbelievable. Lots of prayers going out for those people in those fires. The victims of those fires. Unfrickin' believable. Now, let me move my chair here a little bit. What do we got? Who do we got? I got an email here. I'm going to mark this as read. I don't know what it's about, but it's from the people who should be heard before anybody else. Right? The people. All right, here we go. Let's get into it. This email is titled Encounter But Unseen. Hi, Steve. My name is Dennis LeBlanc. Dennis, I hope I'm allowed to use your name by the time I get to the end of this email. I live in Auburn, ME. Where's ME? Like you, I am an unapologetic about being open about this subject, so you can use this if you like. I've enjoyed your videos and stories sent in from fellow experiencers. Well, I will let you and others you might share this with decide whether I experienced a Sasquatch or something else. Anyway, when my son was about 11, about 1990 or so, he and I saw someone shoot a giant buck right across the street from where we lived. And we went out to see it, out in the field where it fell. That day, we caught the hunting bug and began to hunt with archery. We both were successful in the same woods across from our house, but as the years went on, our interest started to draw us to an old closed-down game preserve that followed the Androscoggin River. Androscoggin, Androscoggin River in Maine, about 10 miles north of our home. And this is a tract of land that follows the river for miles without any people living on that side of the river, and for about 1 mile back to the west, and then only large cornfields and dairy farms. We hunted there many times, going by canoe. Then in 2003 or so, my son joined the Air Force and ended up in Iraq. So I continued to hunt this area with friends until I came home. I'm not sure what year it was, but we decided to try that spot again, just the two of us, like in the old days. We got up way before sunrise, got all we needed into the canoe, and started upriver. It was about a 3-mile ride with a 1-horse trolling motor attached to the side of the canoe. I should mention that by this point, we'd been hunting with shotgun and rifle. We made it to our destination and started to follow an old logging path up into the woods when my son suggested we split up. We decided to meet on that path in a few hours. It was still dark at this time, and it would be getting light in about a half an hour. So, my son Shane walked east on the path that we came to from the canoe. I decided to walk up a fairly steep hill directly north in somewhat old growth forest. I've been walking for about 10 minutes slowly, not wanting to give myself away, when I heard a group of 4-wheelers coming from the south, heading for where my son Shane had been walking. So I stopped to watch the lights go by from about 150 yards up the hill. I faced south and looked down the hill till they were gone, and I could not hear them anymore. And this is the moment it happened. From about 60 to 80 yards directly behind me, a vocalization of a whoop that started in very low frequency pitch and with perfect transition slowly went to a very high frequency for about 7 to 10 seconds. The voice was so loud, it shook me to the bone. I froze, unable to move except to nervously take the safety off of my shotgun. Then, after about 15 seconds, it did it again, in exactly the same manner. I was afraid for the first time in my life of something I could not place in my mind other than Sasquatch. But at that moment, I didn't know what I was hearing. I know now that a human male can yell at about 110 decibels. At least, that is what I saw on the internet. And this had to be 2 to 3 times louder, and the low-pitch part of it rumbled my chest. I didn't move for what seemed like 15 minutes, not wanting to let it know I was there. I wanted to listen closely for movement in my direction, but nothing. I then slowly turned toward the direction of the voice and waited another 2 to 3 minutes. I still heard nothing. And by this time, it began to get lighter. I could see through the trees somewhat. I took 1 step in that direction, and nothing. Then I slowly walked to where the sound came from. I saw nothing, and heard nothing after that. I moved off the hill down to an area closer to the river, and eventually met up with my son, Shane. He didn't hear anything. He may, we surmise, have been around on the other hill, blocking the sound. Over the years, since I've shared this story with some people in my family, my sisters, and some friends, my family didn't know what to say. I don't think they could come to the same conclusion as I did without hearing it for themselves. I have come to think that the incident could not have happened had it not been for the four-wheelers that made me stop. See, I was on the south side of the hill, maybe 60 to 100 yards from the crest, and this thing, by the time the four-wheelers got past that hill, down to the bottom on the same side as I was, probably got to the crest too late to hear me coming, and now I was stopped. Anyway, it has been with me for all these years. Not mentioned very often, except just recently my son and I watched some of your videos, and that sparked me to want to tell you my story. I thank you for your no bullshit style that can wake up a few more people than other styles at this time. I appreciate what you do and hope you remain interested in providing these kinds of reports from people like myself for many years to come. Dennis. Dennis, I appreciate that email, man, your honesty, and yep, I got the torch, and it ain't going out. You can't stop me. And you know what it was, man. You know what it was. And you know that sound was meant for you, 110%. And welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. So Maine, that's where you were, Maine. All right, here's another one titled Tracks and Screaming. Hi, Steve. My name is William. I'm 57 years old. I want to thank you for this outlet to share our experiences. I've never had a face-to-face with one of these, but I have been screamed at on many occasions. In 1977, I was 14 years old and living in Hull County, Georgia, where my dad owned and operated a logging company. In early December, we got a freak snowstorm. It was only 3 inches or so, but that is bad for North Georgia. They shut everything down for more than a week. Dad's guys could not make the drive to work, so we decided to go squirrel hunting. Up here in Canada, if it snowed 3 inches and somebody said they couldn't go to work, oh, you'd be in shit. We decided to hunt property that belonged to a friend of ours and started off in 20 acres of pines. The stand of pines ended at a bog/swamp that bordered a hardwood forest. And as we came out of the trees, we saw a set of tracks in the new snow. These were twice the size of my dad's size 12 boots and spaced nearly 5 feet apart. The tracks continued out over the snow and ice on the swamp and across to the hardwoods on the other side. We stood and looked at these tracks and were trying to decide if we should continue around to the hardwoods when we were assaulted by a scream. This scream sounded like a combination of a woman and a panther screaming, only it was much louder than either could have made. And the noise was coming from the direction of the tracks and the hardwoods, and this was more than 100 yards away. Since all we had to hunt with were shotguns and some with game loads, we decided we should not stay. I live in northern Minnesota now and have hunted in 9 different states. And I've been screamed at in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Georgia, South Carolina, and Tennessee. When this happens, I just find another place to hunt. The funny thing about all of this is that my dad won't talk about what happened back in '77. We've hunted together off and on for most of my life, and he was in the woods every day for years, but he won't talk about it. Thanks again, Steve. William, Spain. William, appreciate that email. And it sounds to me like somebody's trying to get your attention, by the sounds of it. If I had to guess, from what I've been learning from all of the people for how long now, if I had to guess, it's probably the same being screaming at you. And I don't know, maybe once you might want to try speaking back, possibly in a friendly manner, I don't know. But it sounds like somebody's trying to get your attention. Why? Wrong guy to ask. I haven't a frickin' clue. Haven't a clue. But it sounds like they got respect enough for you to leave you alone, but I don't know. Maybe try talking out loud to him and saying, I know you're here. Just do what I do. I know you're here. You know I'm here. I'm not into your ass. Leave me alone. Right? Or who knows? I don't know. Maybe you want to talk to them and try it. I don't know. Appreciate that email. Too bad your dad can't face it, talk about it. But we can. This one's titled Odds and Ends. Hi, Steve. Love your videos. I love your no BS approach to the Sasquatch world, and let me say I find it soothing listening to you read the Sasquatch stories, although I am sure none of them were a soothing experience for the folks it happened to. Thank you for giving people an outlet to share their experience. Also, thank you for providing real info on this subject to the world. Let me briefly say, I started out just by chance watching a Finding Bigfoot show. I watched more episodes for about a season, just curious to see if they ever found anything. I did think it was ridiculous. Then they played loud music, tried to feed them and all that stupid stuff, and I wasn't a believer in Sasquatch then, but this quickly stirred up my curiosity. And I was surprised when I asked people if they believed in Sasquatch/Bigfoot, and most said they felt it possible. So, watching this stupid show led me on a search to find out if Sasquatch was real. I live in Pennsylvania. I live at the end of a long mountain that stretches out straight for many, many miles. While I have not had an encounter myself, I do have some interesting odds and ends, all of which happened at my end of this mountain. I believe the ridge line of this mountain is traveled by Sasquatch. There isn't much in the way of cabins or houses up on this mountain. There's only one road that travels up over the mountain from side to side at about the halfway point along it. We are rural Pennsylvania, with the occasional small town dotting our countryside. Pennsylvania is said to be very Sasquatchy. I'm not sure. I've never heard any Sasquatch stories until recently, and I'm now 60. I think much of it can be attributed to people's unwillingness to share experiences. My coworker, who is the only person I talk in depthly with on the subject, has a neat story. I'm encouraging him to send it in. We've also spoken briefly with another coworker who lives near the foot of the mountain, and she has seen a large footprint near her rural home. She also stated she saw something large and dark near her property, which caused her to wonder. I will be bringing the subject up with more locals. And in the mid to late 70s, my boyfriend told me a story of hearing loud calls at night up on the mountain. I don't recall now how he explained them, but they must have been really loud yells or screams. I think they called him the Mountain Man, although no one seemed to know what this being or animal was. We didn't have much in the way of a coyote population in those days, and plus these people were up on that mountain a lot, hunting and exploring. They knew the sounds in the woods. And also one late evening after dark, near where my boyfriend lived, he needed to urinate. He pulled off in a back road in a small area just big enough to pull into. It had briars and bushes, and man, he quickly jumped back into the car. He said there was a bear out there. Could be, but I now wonder what it was. And as said, I have no personal story of Sasquatch. The strangest thing I've seen in this area was an ostrich walking around at an intersection with a local highway in the small town I used to live in. That was in the 70s. I never heard the story behind that one, LOL. That would be kind of different. I do have a personal story of another kind. In the late 70s, we were driving on the highway along this mountain at dark. The boyfriend turned off onto a side road. It led to a small quarry, no longer in use. And he told me a story of locals seeing a light come up through a field area at night. He was said to have been an old woman who used to live in the area having a lantern. And I thought, yeah, right. Well, I did see a light coming up through the field, and no one lived in the area. And as I think on it, it was odd. I can recall turning around and leaving. I can't recall turning around and leaving. It seems I lost some minutes of time. I started to shiver really bad. I think I went into shock. It's weird, but it happened. My boyfriend tried to explain it away, saying possibly car lights. And I pointed out it was a single light, and there was no road there, no vehicle sound. So odd things do happen. And lastly, talking about fake TV shows, do you know of the show Mountain Monsters? On the order of Finding Bigfoot, but way more bizarre. They look for Bigfoot, Wolfman, Mothman, etc. in West Virginia. Always hot on their trail. They just missed the creature. Big LOL there. Yeah, no doubt. Anyway, I know a person who used to work with the one actor on the show. He quit his job, went to this TV series, and when I say actor, is definite newbie actor, fresh from the literal mountains, in my opinion. He would tell of how they'd set a trap, say a huge trap made of rope. They'd cut the rope up, then yell how they just missed the beast. Ridiculous. No shit. Oh my god, that's nasty. My point is, this is an example of the fakery that goes on these TV shows. Different fakery by the show, same BS. It can make real experiencers or experiences look unreal and inconsequential. Just thought to throw that in there. I am a believer in Sasquatch by my research. Thanks again, Steve, for what you're doing. You don't have to read these tidbits. I enjoyed writing them. Sorry to hear about the passing of your horse. We love our animals. In fact, I love animals more than some people. Please don't use my name. Uh-oh. I hope you didn't use it in the beginning, did you? No, I don't think you did. All right, your name's left out. Appreciate the email and the kind words. The kind words. And there you go. Yeah, could you imagine? You know what? Something about being on a TV show. There's so many people that just want to be on TV. It's kind of bizarre. Who's next? All right. We got another one titled, what's it, night? 2 Very Strange Experiences. All right. Let her rip. Hello, Steve. Thank you for all you do. I've been captivated for months hearing you read people's experiences about Sasquatch. I'm an ex-Royal Air Force mechanic from Middlesbrough, England. Middlesbrough, England. I did a tour of Iraq in 2003, and I'm now living in Saskatchewan, Canada. All right, on. I drove truck all over Canada for the first 8 years of living here. In 2013, I heard an older Cree native guy speaking about Sasquatch on the CB radio. Being the young, confident man I am, I called out, "You don't believe that rubbish, do you?" And I got chewed out, shouted at, for insulting them. I quickly shut up, and it sparked my imagination. I'm no fool, and believe we haven't got anything figured out completely on this earth, but I still thought it was kind of nonsense. Since finding your channel by chance in December 2020, I'm actually addicted to hearing people's emails. I know now these beings exist. The thing which solidified it for me was when I decided to message my Cree friend, and I asked straight up, "What do the elders say about Sasquatch?" He typed for ages, so I knew I was getting a serious reply from my usually very unserious comical friend. He said, "We call them bigger brother, or tall people. Do not go looking for them and they will leave you alone. Our grandparents told us about them and they scare us all to bits. We don't usually speak of them to white people for obvious reasons." That was enough for me. My brain chemistry has changed. I'm not used to living amongst bears and wolves because I'm from England, but these things bring a whole different level to being alert and armed in the forest. What has made me email today is I heard you read an email from your video posted on the 21st of February 2021. It's from a man who drove to mile 16 in Alaska with his wife looking for a bull moose. He had a hunch a moose would come from behind a ravine, and it actually did that second. This took me right back to 2 odd experiences I've had since moving here to Canada. Experience number 1. I was trucking back south from Patuanak in far northern Saskatchewan. I was approximately 40 kilometers south of the small native settlement, just thinking to myself, alone in the semi. I was thinking to myself about my cousin trying to make me believe in God and become a Christian, and how silly it felt to believe in God. I hadn't seen any wildlife what seemed like ours that day, and I said to myself, okay, if there's a higher power there, if there's a higher power, there will be a deer when I look down this next side road as I zoomed past it, and there was a humongous white-tailed deer. He stood with a cloud of breath all around him in the cold -25 winter's air. Odd, right? That was like God or someone saying, "Oh, really?" Experience 2. My grandfather died at age 99 in England before I could return. Oh, your grandmother, I'm sorry. My grandmother died, age 99 in England, before I could return to see her. This broke me. And I'm tearing up writing this now. I was very low, but managed to talk my Cree friend, who I asked about Sasquatch, to come ice fishing with me at Montreal Lake, Saskatchewan. We were about 20 kilometers from the turnoff in the middle of the boreal forest, and I said to him, "I've seen some big wolf." Before I could finish the word wolves, a massive gray wolf ran right out in front of my truck and across the road. "Wolves around here," I just finished. We both just looked at each other in disbelief. I said, "Well, thanks, Grandma." We both laughed, and I had an awesome day fishing, catching my biggest yet, a 15-pound pike. I'd forgotten about these 2 experiences, but your YouTube video brought them back to me. I fully believe in Sasquatch now, and I also believe in a higher power or a parallel world. Keep up the excellent work, Steve. You absolutely effing rock. I have a 3-year-old son and one on the way. I wasn't brought up in the forest like you guys, but I'll do my very best to raise 2 fine, strong men like yourself and the others I've met in North America, where men are men. Thanks for taking the time to read my experiences. I'm sure others have had many like mine. Yours sincerely, Gary. Are you allowed to use your name, Gary? It doesn't say. Okay, Gary Woodgate. Gary, appreciate that email, my man. It might have taken a little while to find it and read it, but we got it shared. And it's funny. I know a few people from the UK that came over here to live this lifestyle. Another friend of mine moved to McBride. Became a trapper. He's a full-on trapping maniac, and he's got all these recipes for lynx and beaver and bears and everything on the side of his fridge. Him and his wife. He's got a new family here, and he's absolutely living the frickin' dream. Loves it. There you go. It's funny, side note, when Sarah and I were flying here, there was a young guy sitting beside us in the plane, and he was a native guy from northern Saskatchewan. And he was on his way to Phuket to become a fighter. Be trained to become a better fighter. I didn't bring up the Sasquatch topic. I'll bet you if I did, he'd have something to say, but random note. What else do we got here? Here's another one. Appreciate that email, man. If you've learned or heard of or seen anything else since your trials of becoming a Canadian and a hunter in northern Saskatchewan, email us back and let us know what's up. Definitely want to hear more. This one's titled An Unexplained Event. Hi, Steve. Thanks for doing what you do. I enjoy your videos. In September 8 of 1984, 6 of us were camping at about 5,000 feet near Dog Creek in the Helena National Forest of west central Montana. About 1 a.m., after everyone else had turned in for the night, I was sitting in a camp chair enjoying the quiet night and a nice campfire. I started to get a chill, so I wrapped a big rug I was planning to sleep on around myself and the chair like a little teepee next to the fire. I couldn't see out, but I was comfortable. And after about 20 minutes, I heard something big running through the trees, getting closer quickly. And whatever it was, ran right by me so fast I couldn't look in time to see anything. It didn't sound like any big game running. It would be very unusual for a game to run through our camp in the middle of the night anyway. I eventually just wrote it off as, what else could it have been? Until I heard a story from one of your viewers about being uncommonly frightened and too scared to move. I remember being unusually scared and feeling like I'd be better off not looking. And over the years, I spent a lot of time in the mountains. I found a number of places that creeped me out for no logical reason, so bad I avoided the area. The most recent was last July, camping in the Flathead National Forest near the North Fork of the Flathead River in Glacier Park. I went for a hike looking for firewood along an old trail that got more overgrown as I went, until the trail was more like a cave with the trees blocking the sunlight. It was so freaky quiet and creepy, a chill went up my spine, and I turned around and went back the way I came. It's a very nice place. I want to check out that area more sometime, but I'll be armed if I do. That is grizzly country, so I probably should have had my rifle. It's amazing how much bravery I can muster up with a lever action 30-30 in my hands. And again, I thank you for sharing some of your viewers' stories. They've made me rethink some of my own experiences. Roy Diltz. Roy, appreciate the email, man. And a side note for you and anybody else who's curious, if you ever want the best, the number one grizzly bear stopper is a 12 gauge with slugs. Center mass, let her rip, and hopefully you got the plug out of your shotgun. And you hit them every time. And drop down to your knees so you don't shoot over them, because they are faster than lightning. And everybody who gets chewed on and is shooting at the bear, they always stand up and they shoot over the bear almost every time because they're so fast. So get on your knee, put the gun up, you can't miss them. There's another email. This is a recent one titled, "Now the deer, elk, and bears are gone." Oh, here we go. What do we got? Hello, Steve. I've written you before, but have some updates to share and a question. So here we go. I'm 65, a vet with a lifetime of hunting. If it helps, my teammates' code word for me was, and if it helps, my teammates' code word for me was God's hammer. But enough about me. That's quite the handle. I live in Oregon, and I've hunted since age 7. My place to go for elk and mule deer is a desert now, and no, I don't mean there is no forest after 45 years of hunting the same area. The elk, deer, and even bears have disappeared. My last fall hunt, we heard coyote calls every night, but they were not the ones I remember, as in no locate call, and then you hear the pack when they get something down after a lifetime of the stuff. Missing punctuation, sorry. After a lifetime of this stuff, you either know or you grew up in the city and would run at the recorded sound of my voice calls. Sorry, rambling. The thing is, the elk are gone. No tracks, no camera, shots from my game cams. I monitor all year. 2 years ago, for an example, driving to the town for supplies at dusk, we counted 68 mule deer on the way there. I hunt a fence line off of a 12,000-acre ranch, and the resident elk herd varies anywhere from 400 to 600 elk. I've shot many bulls over the years, and now the mule deer. No tracks, no cam video, just tree falls or a porcupine climbing up to chew on the cameras. No traces, no video, just those coyote calls I refuse to fall for, as we even staked out some chicken breast meat and called them for hours with no animals coming into the 2 days and 3 locations we used. Okay, now I get it. So you're hearing coyote calls? Hold on a minute. A little confusing there. Porcupine club chilling. No video, just those coyote calls I refused to fall for, as we even staked out some chicken breast meat and called them for hours with no animals coming into the 2 days and 3 locations we used. Oh, that's a little alarming. So I get it now. You're hearing these crazy coyote calls nonstop. You're not seeing any. Nothing's coming in. And there's no ungulates left. Bottom line, the last day, it snowed. And we went to change out the sun cell boards and change out the chips. Anyway, yeah, the thing smelled like dead guts of a skunk. Then I turned and see the tree peeker. I've said this before, but I'll repeat it just in case. All I had was my 30-06, and this thing was bigger than the hood of my 1-ton truck. Not to mention it was a good 3 feet taller than me, and I'm 6'4" tall and too old to run. So it peeked out again and then left the area in about 6 strides. We checked for prints, but with all the small stumps and reprod, it was impossible. End of story. One question. I have a 375 Holland & Holland, and if it came down to me or the Sabe, Do you think this Big 5 rifle would stop this thing? I'm not holding you or anyone else in any way, just want your thoughts. Thanks for all the good you do. Hank the Tank, Central Oregon. Wow. All right, so I don't know. Did I read it awkward? I don't know. Cut some punctuation missing there. A couple sentences got confusing, but I got it. I got it. Your favorite spot? You've been hunting, got trail cameras everywhere, and you've killed a lot of game there, and all of a sudden there is absolutely nothing there. And I've experienced the same thing myself, for sure. And now you've seen one of these beings right there. Well, there's your answer. I'm imagining that's the direct answer, right? 375. H&H. Is that going to dump one? From what I understand, if you had to, if you're being provoked, you didn't start it, and you had one of these beings coming to kick your ass or do whatever they're going to do, and you actually got the gun up in time, which I find hard to imagine myself, but apparently if you shoot him in the head, that's going to dump him. It's a word on the street, but I wouldn't suggest it unless you had to. But that's the word on the street. 375, yeah, it's going to be way ample. All right, little interruption there. Some huge fireworks started going off not too far from us. We couldn't quite see them. They were hidden from the building, but pretty loud. Anyway, I don't even know where I was. I'm pretty sure I got that last one read, and I got one more sitting right here, so I'm going to read it. Why you can feel being stared at. Oh, that's interesting to me. Steve, you're talking about the sense of being stared at. It turns out there's a scientific term for that. Scopaesthesia. 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 Did I get it? Scopaesthesia. Dr. Rupert Sheldrake is a science researcher who specializes in the study of consciousness and spoke on YouTube on December 21st of 2024 about the sense you're being stared at. Fascinating stuff. Search YouTube for Sheldrake Scopaesthesia to hear it. I think your question will get answered. Scope, as in looking through a scope. Aesthesia, Aesthetia, as in anesthesia. All right, there we go. Aesthesia. Keep on keeping on. Adrian Horian, Hartford, Wisconsin, USA. Adrian, appreciate that heads up. That'll be interesting for me for sure. Appreciate it. Who's next? All right, this next email is titled, I have a request. All right, let's hear it. Dear Steve, I appreciate everything you do for the people who are looking to share their experiences. And I wrote in about the time rocks were thrown between me and my dad. But today I'm asking if you will share a prayer request for my newborn grandson, who was born Saturday during the massive winter storm that rocked the middle of the USA. His doctors sent him to St. Louis to figure out why his oxygen levels are slightly low. I just was hoping that some of my How to Hunt brothers and sisters could say a prayer for my little Evan. He is my first grandson, and I don't have any other family than the people who are here, like me, trying to learn the truth. Thank you again, Steve and Sarah, for everything you've both been doing for the people. Well, I'm sure little Evan is about to receive literally thousands of prayers in basically any minute. They definitely come. There's no shortage of free, warm, sincere prayers here, ever. Good place to come, for sure. And they are sent, and they're coming. Lots of prayers for little Evan. I'm quite sure he'll be strong and healthy soon enough. Lots of those little mini humans, they have those little hiccups when they first arrive here, but they get through it, right? All right. Here's another email. Now, I don't think this has been read. We're going to find out. There's no title in this email either. All right, here we go. Hi, Steve. Like everyone else, we love listening to the stories. Thank you for doing what you're doing. We appreciate it. We'd like to wish you and all your followers the very best in this crazy world we now live in. Our names are Cindy and Joe, and we live in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, the UP. Hold on, I'm going to go to my phone here. The UP has sections of forest and swamp. Oh, hold on a minute, you guys. Sorry, a little adjusting here. The UP has sections of forest and swamp, many rivers and lakes, including Lakes Michigan and Superior. We've lived in a small town for the last 15 years and can honestly say that the people of the UP are amongst the most friendliest in the world. I got a couple awesome friends who have a hunting property in the UP, and they're from Howell, Michigan. Howell, Michigan. Great people. Love them. During the years we have lived there, we've had at least 10 to 12 incidents that have happened that we have no explanation for, including paranormal activity. It keeps life interesting. We'd like to share with you a paranormal deer story and a Bigfoot story. All right. We woke up about 7 a.m. to hear several crows cawing. Cindy asked me why the crows were going crazy, and I told her that we would go and investigate after we had coffee. On a side note, crows are a good bird to have around as they eat all the roadkill. Have a dinner bell call, and if there is a predator around, such as an owl, they go crazy. So after having coffee, we get on the four-wheelers to go investigate, and it snowed about 2 inches during the night. And we found a small doe, about 80 pounds, laying on its side with a light dusting of snow on the body. And this is where it gets strange. The first thing we notice is there are no tracks of crows, predators, or deer tracks in the snow, and nothing has touched it. Cindy asked me, how did it die? And I said, we will find out right now. I picked up the deer with my thumb and pointer finger to turn it over, and what we found was that it was half a deer. The entire side of that deer was gone. No front leg, no back leg, no guts, no ribs, no blood. It was like someone had taken a saw and cut down the spine, as there were no jagged bone pieces. It probably only weighed 20 pounds, if that. How did the deer get there with half a body and no tracks of any kind? Impossible. It looked like it was just dropped there. Of course, our camera had recently broken, and thus we could not take any pictures. Cindy's story. This occurred on a beautiful sunny afternoon in late October 2009. Joe was watching the Michigan football game, and I decided that I would go back and work on the back door of a blind that we had built but never finished. This is in a little cleared spot in the back 40, surrounded on one side by thick tag elders and eventually swamp. I was on the ladder nailing in the front door frame when I heard a loud cough behind me. I stopped and looked, but I couldn't see anything due to the tag alders, but the sound was close. I noticed that it was dead quiet. No other sounds at all. Thinking this could be a coyote/wolf that was coughing because of a fur ball stuck in his throat, I started pounding on the boards and talking to scare it away. And about 10 minutes later, I heard another cough that is about 20 yards away, but to my left. This now has my attention, and thinking if this is not good, I decided to go and walk on the inside of the... I decided to go and work on the inside of the blind, as I have some protection if needed. I was in there for about 15 minutes working on the ceiling when I needed another board. I went out to the four-wheeler, picked up a board, and from the front side of the blind, about 50 yards away, I heard the loudest, longest, most powerful roar that I've ever heard. The sound just went through my body. Whatever made that roar was big and powerful and had huge lungs, as the roar lasted for 7 to 9 seconds. The lung capacity was unbelievable. I dropped the board, said, "You win, I'm out of here." I jumped on the four-wheeler and left as fast as I could. I grew up on a farm, had 5 older brothers, hunted game, and enjoyed the outdoors all my life, so I'm very familiar with animal sounds, but that roar was enough to get me out of there. We still enjoy the woods. One time, we had pounding on the sides of the house, and 5 months ago we had two whoops at 2:30 in the morning in our front orchard. We accept the fact that our property has lots of strange, unexplainable things that happen on it, but that's what keeps it interesting. Last comment for your viewers. Do you think that all the people who have told the stories are liars, or is just one person telling the truth? We know the answer. Bigfoot exists. Thanks again for listening to our stories and providing people a place to tell their stories. There are a lot of unexplained things that happen in this world which keep it interesting, and people need a place to tell their experience without being ridiculed. You're doing a great job. Feel free to share our stories if you want. Sorry this is so long. I hope everything goes well for you, and stay safe, Joe and Cindy. All right, Joe and Cindy, appreciate that email, and I hope everything goes well for you, too. And you should probably give us an update on what's been going down around that property, huh? We'd definitely be interested in it for sure. You know what's going on around there. Why is it going on? I don't know. I don't know why. Why don't they just come right out and say hi, right? Hold on a sec. I'm trying to do something here. All right. I think that should do it for today. End of the day here. I don't know what time it is for you guys. You guys are probably all sleeping, all sound asleep. It's probably about 4 in the morning your time or something like that. But this ought to do for today, I believe. We got a bunch of voices heard. What else? Oh, I got one funny. We're going to talk about this one funny for a minute. But so for all you guys that can't stand my voice, the emails are done, all right, for today. But anyway, I very, very rarely read the comments in the videos. Very rarely. And but when I do, it's when, because I guess what's it called, the alerts or whatever, the alerts come up on your phone from various pages that you were on. So I get, when people comment on any of my YouTube channels, I guess the comments come up on the face of my phone when it's sitting there, and 99.9% of the time I don't even look. But sometimes when I do, there will be a little jewel sitting there for me, right? And I'll read it, and then I can't help myself. It's usually somebody, when it gets my attention like that, it's somebody who's looking for some attention, and then I will pin it, give some kind of a snarky remark, and I'll let you guys have at it, because it makes me laugh my head off when that goes down. I don't know why. But anyway, I gotta read this. I'll screenshot it. I'll post it on here for you guys if you missed it. So I don't know who this dude is, but he blew a gasket the other day, and I caught it on the front of my phone. It says, Steve, you proclaim it yourself all the time, quote, I don't watch the news or TV or current events, blah, 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 blah. Therefore, anything you say about anything other than hunting and BC Island makes you ignorant of what you say about it. BC Island. Oh my God. So, stay in your lane otherwise. Shut the F up. If you say another word in support of Trump, I will unfollow you faster. TF. Holy shit. You can't. I was just dying when I read this one, so I commented. What did I say? I put, well, is Make America Great Again enough? See you, Cindy. And then carried on with, holy shit, I can't make shit up, folks. Oh my God. I thought we were like mostly done with all the kooks on this channel. I guess not. Oh, and look at this. 30 people thumbed up his comment. We got 30 kooks on here? You gotta be kidding me. I thought we got rid of most of the kooks along the ride. But anyway, that was a pretty good one, wasn't it? Pretty funny shit. Yeah. Nope, I don't watch the news, and I don't watch TV, and I do not listen to the TV networks or stations talk about current events. I listen to the people. I listen to independent reporters, independent journalists. That's who I listen to. But most of all, I listen to all you. But I do shun the TV, and I shun the paid for mainstream news big time. But anyway, that was a funny one. I thought I'd add that in there in case you missed it, because we all need a good laugh now and then. I don't know if this person's still with us or not. I don't know. I don't know. I was almost thinking maybe we should have had a eulogy for him, you know? I mean, we just we lost him. He left. And furthermore, he threatened to unfollow faster. I mean, oh my God, what are we going to do? Shit. But anyway, all right, that's enough. It's been a long day. Been a long day. I'll be back. I don't know. We'll see. I might be back tomorrow. We'll see. Hopefully. I'll be back sometime. It's easy for me to do, right? Just sit down, relax, and talk to you guys and get the emails shared. It's easy to do. So, email me your truth at sharemystory@howtohunt.com, and we'll be back.